great team meeting last night. Closed the chapter on Duquesne, moving on to week 2. Obviously, goal is to go 1-0 and take care of business this week. The other guys, first of all, preparation-wise, I think our players did a great job preparing for that game. Besides just going in and playing it, but to me, it's all about the prep, and we've talked about just the routines that you take every week, keeping it the same. Just done maybe a better job as a head coach, just making sure that the preparation stays the same regardless of who you play. But obviously one of our goals going into the game was to be explosive in all 3 phases. And we're explosive on offense, we're explosive on special teams. And again, I think we're pretty explosive on defense. I would have liked to have gotten a couple turnovers, which we did get. We almost had one, the quarterback was down, and we dropped an interception. So we got to make plays when we have opportunities to make them. You don't get those opportunities all the time, so we just got to get better that way. But overall, it's a great performance. I think our football team in the opener, that audition I talked about, like you don't know what you're going to get, you don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, they made some changes on both sides of the ball, as we did, and you have to adjust as you go. And again, I think one of the best things we do is adjust on the run. I mean, the iPads I've said last year are critical, and you see what they're doing, and then you make your different adjustments based on what they do. And I think our coaches did a great job adjusting and coaching them, not only on the sideline, but at halftime in the locker room, which is huge. What we're allowed to do in the locker room nowadays. So again, and then we got Central Michigan coming here. I think they're a tough, tough football team. They're blue collar. Played them in the past, whether it was at Miami, Ohio, or Northern Illinois, and actually at Michigan State we played Central. We actually traveled up to their place one year. They had music blaring. They had more speakers and fake music up there than I've ever seen in my life. It was the loudest, place I've ever seen for not being that big a place. But Matt Drinkles, the head coach, came from Army. Again, brings that Army toughness. I think they're getting their best players on the field. Again, Jim Chapman is the offensive coordinator. He is, he came from Eastern Washington, so we've watched a lot of Eastern Washington tapes throughout the summer and now, and you see a lot of similarities. They're going to play with 3 quarterbacks. So if you're out there watching, you're not going to sit there and say, what happened to the quarterback? Did he get hurt? No, they play with 3. They played 3 at Eastern Washington all the time, so they have packages for all 3. It's kind of their philosophy offensively. They do a bunch of different stuff, but they like to line up and pound you. Okay, that's what they want to do. They're about 70% run football team, and they're going to line up in a lot of 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, a little bit of the 1 tight end stuff that is college football nowadays. So it'll be a different look for our defense this week. It's going to come down to toughness, and I think we're kind of built for that here in Pittsburgh. So anybody wants to line up and big people, we embrace that here. So that will play into our hands for sure. They got a great win against San Jose on the road. I mean, not an easy trip to ever go out to California, play a night game, and but they did a nice job being +3 in the turnover ratio out there. Got 3 turnovers defensively. Sean Cronin's their defensive coordinator, and Sean, I've known him for a long days, back to his Marshall days. He visits at Michigan State. He's a heck of a football coach. He also came from Army. He was a D-line coach up at Army, so he does a great job. They ran a lot of 3 down this past week down at San Jose, and so we expect some 3 down and also 4 down as far as what they do. So bouncing their backers all over the place, trying to confuse you, run a bunch of different coverages. So that's kind of what we expect. Questions?
Jaden Moore didn't play on Saturday. Is whatever he's dealing with, is that a season ending?
No, and again, if I would tell you if it's season ending, Jerry, you listen to me? I would tell you if it's season ending, like I already have. And Jaden will be fine. It's something to work on, but not going to talk about injuries, guys. You know that. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't care for stuff to be tweeted out, or if you see something in pre-practice and this stuff gets out, I'm not going to be real happy. So, we don't talk about it, and that's nobody's business, and that's kind of how we are.
Your first team offensive line played 50 snaps across the boards other than Ryan Baer. What just caused him to exit the game earlier?
I'm sorry?
Ryan Baer didn't, across the first team unit on offensive line, played 50 snaps each, except for Ryan Baer. What caused him to exit?
You got a little bit of a stinger, whatever. Again, it's another injury question you want to ask me. Right after I just had an injury question, so Ryan Baer's fine. So I can tell you that. But did we need him after that? No. So no sense in putting him out there. So.
What'd you make of Kendall Stanley's performance? One of the first snaps, he let up a pretty clean
one of the first
sack.
snaps. And again, I blame myself. That wasn't his fault. He had a heck of a game after that first play, which is what we thought. But he hadn't played a whole lot of right tackle, and we wanted to put him in there to get him reps there because we think he's the best tackle going in. And Giovanni Cooley probably would have been fine too. He was good when he got in as well. I think we had 73 guys playing in the football game, which is really good when you got let's just say 85 guys on scholarship. We got 73 guys that played in the game, which is outstanding. That we were able to get a lot of guys reps. But Kendall State, that first one didn't play right tackle. He just did, and he was getting coached up on the sideline that the ends are coming inside all day, and he went in there thinking the ends are coming inside, and he ran up the field. So that's going to happen. But again, I think it's just more. We think as coaches sometimes it's easy to put guys in there in different positions, but like he hadn't repped that position for 2 weeks probably. We just hadn't been doing it. We got Gio a lot of reps over there, and we made him better. But that's probably a coaching error more. That was the only sack we gave up on the day. Probably coaching error.
You got a number of longer runs. Obviously Dez had the 53-yard run. He had a few that were 10 plus. But overall, on kind of a play-to-play basis, how did you feel about your offensive line's push up front just to establish the run?
Good. Again, it just depends on what they're giving you. They were cancel gaps inside, and and they're good up front. I mean, I told you coming into the week that their offensive line and their defensive line were two of their strengths, so they do a nice job. They got guys on scholarship too. Probably not as deep as we are, but they got guys that transfer in different places, so they're good up front. And they had a good game plan. But I think we did what we wanted to do. We missed some shots. We had opportunities, but that's going to happen in every game. You can put on game last night. Look at this guy's open, that guy's open, but that goes with game experience. And I was excited about what we saw in offense. Our line will be fine.
Nick Lappy and Cam Lindsey both got a fair amount of snaps as the game went on. Just what were your impressions, assessment of how those two played?
I was excited. Both of them played really well. Cam Lindsey's physical. He just keeps getting better. They're just going to continue to get better all year. And Nick Lappy's been, he played 26 snaps, I think, on special teams. The guy's a beast. And I forget how many snaps on defense, but both those guys are reliable guys that we have no problem putting in. And they're just going to keep getting better.
To your point about Central Michigan's using multiple quarterbacks, just what have your initial impressions been of those guys, and what kind of defensive challenges does that present for your group preparing for different packages and even more nuanced stuff like different quarterback cadences?
It's totally different offense. They run option. Quarterback's going to carry a lot of powers. We think we got pretty good medicine to take care of some of that stuff. The game plan will be critical, but that's kind of what we do. This is old school. I feel like I'll be in the room even more than I normally am, just because all the stuff we're seeing is old school Big Ten football. So, I think we'll match up well as far as what we do, how we do it, versus what they do. But we got to go out and make plays, and we're going to get lined up properly. So it's just different stuff that we'll get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to adjust to it. It's not quite like playing Georgia Tech back in the day, but it's different than what we're normally seeing. And I think that's probably the biggest deal.
Was there someone who went maybe under the radar when you were watching the game live, but after you went back and watched film, popped out?
Not really. It's pretty much what I saw on video. I think what you saw out there was what you saw. I thought Cole played well as well when he came in to get him reps. And again, we weren't going to bring him in there and just hand the ball off every time. He needed to get his, it's an audition for him too, because there's going to be a time where he's got to come in there, and we got a lot of faith in him. Probably could have got Mason in there as well, but didn't want to, we get 4 games, the red shirt, didn't want to, there'll be a time he'll definitely get in the game. We trust Mason to go in the game as well, so I'm kind of excited when he does get his opportunity.
When did Blue Hicks really grab your attention from when he came here, and have you been seeing at practice some of the things we saw in that game?
Yeah, the only thing we didn't really get to see is him catch a short pass or screen or something like that, just based on the game plan, and use his feet to make plays. But that one had a catch, that throw and catch. Eli's throw on that play right there, that was a thing of beauty, and that was a heck of a catch by Blue. So he's shown that throughout camp, throughout spring ball. That's what we thought we'd get out of him. He's a playmaker. And, then we had a couple drop passes as well. There's a couple passes we got to catch. Players make those plays, and but again, first game action, that experience. For everybody, I don't care if you played 2 years, just getting in that opener and getting used to, making those plays. So.
Zach Carruthers had defensive ends, a younger guy, but he played some meaningful snaps for you guys. What did you see from him?
Yeah, he played a lot of meaningful snaps. Zach's a tough dude. He doesn't stay blocked. Okay, if you watch him, he disengages, gets people off of him, and he had the one personal foul, which I don't know you guys look at it. We'll talk about calls, but that was one that was aggressive. I wish he would have batted the ball down before he hit him, but he got a penalty for pushing the quarterback, I guess. But it was one step. I mean, if you take 2 steps, it should be a foul, but it was 1 step, maybe a half a step. Zach's a good player.
Sorry, what did he do to work his way in, once you weren't gonna have Jaden available, what did Zach do to sort of put himself in there as the 4th guy?
He's been doing that all fall camp. You talk about a guy that just continued to develop. I think that guy's gonna be a really good football player. Make a lot of plays for us this year and, in the future. So, it's just a consistency, his knowledge of the game, knowing what to do and being in the right place all the time. And Joey had a nice game as well. He had a couple missed assignments in there, which, new guy, this is his, first time being, in a game, so he had some stuff he'll clean up, but, I thought it was a good game for those guys.
Pat, beyond the score and winning and losing, what are the things that you look for in games against lower level opponents, FCS teams, Group of 5 teams, that make you feel good about those being things that can carry over when you get to Power 5?
The execution, there was very few, missed assignments in the game. Out of our receivers, the secondary communication was good. It's that first time coming out there, man. We're looking for execution, and the execution was good. Is it going to be perfect? Never. There's still a lot of things we can clean up in all 3 phases, but the execution and the effort. But again, there's some, different position groups that I won't mention in here that I want more effort. I want more celebration in the end zone on touchdowns. I want more celebration together, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of good things.
Have there been times over the year when maybe the team's 2-0 and people are like, "Oh, it's great," and you're in here like, "Oh, I'm very displeased with the way things go," even though you beat some teams that you were probably going to beat if you didn't play well?
Are there times like that?
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you play, whether it's a lower level or higher level. Just gonna tell it like I see it. Period. The videotape doesn't lie. I always say the eye in the sky doesn't lie. The camera, pretty much picks up everything. So we're gonna be on them and continue to coach them hard. We haven't done anything yet, guys. We're 1-0. We haven't done anything. We're 0-0 this week, and we beat Duquesne. We got a really tough, physical MAC team. If you go back and look at MAC's schedule last week and who they played, and all the tough, tight games. How you almost beats Rutgers. Wisconsin, Mineville, Howe. 17-3. They play good football, and I think the parity in college football is closing. And I think it's a good thing for college football.
Pat, you mentioned wanting to celebrate more on Malachi's penalty. Did he not understand what maybe the rule was? I know that you're not allowed to you're not allowed to do the gun thing, right? But it didn't look like that's what he maybe was doing. I have teenagers, so sometimes
it was
get
Spider-Man.
excuses.
It was Spider-Man. Right. But I don't care. Anything that looks like it, you can't do it. And so, we talk all the time about, he'll never do it again. He's so sorry, coach. I'm sorry. I'm not worried about Malachi. You'd rather have him in that game than in an ACC game, right? So I'm glad he scored a touchdown now, not later on. Because then, then we got to kick off in the 20, and then Sam, who had Sam Carpenter had a heck of a day kicking the ball off. Now he's trying to do more, trying to put it in the end zone from the 20-yard line, which probably isn't realistic, maybe to the 5. He tries to hit it too hard, hits it out of bounds. Next thing you know, the ball's spotted at the 50-yard line, and we give them a short field, which we won the field position by 158 yards, and we give them a short field, and they get 3 points out of it, stuff like that. That's what that's what happened to that. You just can't do it. And I've talked to our guys. There's celebration officials. They've allowed celebration since last year, and I think it's I hate it. I hate any celebration. Celebrate. Larry Fitzgerald, hand the ball to the official. That's the best celebration I've ever seen, and I'll continue to say. Happy birthday, Larry, too. His birthday was yesterday, but, that's how you, act like you've been there before. And Malachi hasn't been there before in the end zone. I guess maybe his first touchdown pass. But he's talented. He had a drop earlier. shooting. I told him right after he was going to go catch a touchdown pass, and he did. And then he got too excited. But you got to control your emotions out there, and he felt bad about it on the sideline.
Pat, how would you evaluate how Eli did when he tucked the ball and ran?
Really good. I mean, he can run. I mean, the one time they had a big hand on him, he did a nice job running the football, and he did it at the right times. There was a couple of times, early, we'd like to see him step up in the pocket. It's probably the biggest difference from maybe the first series, second series to when he's seen it on the iPad and seeing, okay, you're right. When he started stepping up in the pocket, be able to find a receiver or take off running is when things change a little bit for him, and I think he realized that when he watches the tape on the sideline and obviously watching it afterwards. But Eli had a nice game.
I mean,
Sean?
go ahead, Abby.
Sean Lee had got in very early, or he was the first freshman, true freshman to get in, and he had a substantial amount of stats. What did you see from him?
He played well again, like we thought. Like, he's a football player. I don't know, how else to say it. The big stage. Again, he had some technical little things, just fundamentally that you'd like to see a little cleaner. But for a true freshman to come in and play in the first game and play meaningful reps, not just he came in and played like we expected him to, like we saw in camp, and he'll just keep getting better as well with his first game reps.
How would you assess the performance of the offensive line as a whole, both the starting unit and when some of the other guys started to come in?
Again, we talked about Stanley already. I thought the first group did a great job protecting the quarterback. I mean, you didn't give up any sacks. I thought the run blocking based on what they were doing was good. Again, like I said, they committed some people to the run to stop the run, and we had a chance, one time. I mean, even on the interception, Dez is wide open in the left, and like just it's a touchdown if you throw it to Dez. But like those are decisions that happens in games. I mean, you don't see everything, you can't feel everything, but those are all things that are gonna, we'll continue to get better and continue to coach the details out of that. But I thought the O-line did a nice job. I'd give him a B. How about that? I'd give you a grade.
Des talked a little
Maybe
bit,
B plus.
after the game. Des had said that he made some adjustments to the offensive game plan after starting slow. Did you think you were gonna have to do that? Is it just a case of trying not to show too much, or?
Maybe not show too much, but I can't tell you that, but there's always going to be adjustments. We always do that. I mean, you don't know what they're going to do. They got new players. I mean, I think their linebacking core that they brought in. I mean, they brought in they didn't have a linebacker on their football team that played last year for them. The one returning starter was out for the game, I guess. But the guys that played in there, they were good football players. Those were some good-looking linebackers that probably could play here as well. So I liked what they looked like up front. They did a nice job. And again, you're always going to make adjustments. That's why that's why the offense staff is sitting in that room over there, and the defense staff sitting in the other room. That's what we're doing right now. What have they seen? What do they, what do you think they're going to do? And you're trying to do something a little bit different, and you see what they're doing. But that's that's kind of what we do. That's called coaching and game planning, and that's part of the game. If they came in and did exactly like they did on tape, it'd be pretty easy. So that's our job as coaches. Shoot, even in the second half, we put in some stuff that we didn't have in. Just because you want to do that, okay, we've got this for you. So.
Did Central Michigan plays 3 quarterbacks? Do they all have kind of different skills?
Yes. I mean, obviously the starter, I believe his name's Lapis. He's the guy. And, he'll take the majority of them. But the other 2 guys, the third guy comes in. He's 235 pounds, and he's gonna run the ball. I'm sure he can throw it too. He's a quarterback, but they got different things. They're gonna use their skill sets.
You mentioned 73 kids played on Saturday. You have a philosophy like Kenny was back there returning kicks late, right, in a game that's been decided. Is the thought process there, the rep that he needs in this scenario is more important than maybe the risk that specific play might carry?
Well, if we played worried about risks all the time, we would just pull them out after the first quarter and hope that if we can hold a 14-7 lead or whatever it is. I mean, it's a game of football. It's a collision sport. Things are going to happen. But those are some great reps for Kenny to go back there and feel confident doing it. If you recall a year ago, we put Mumfield back there and he muffed a punt, and then it's a touchdown going the other way. I forget who it was, Kent State maybe. But just for him to go back there and take those meaningful reps, do what we asked him to do. Kenny wants to be back there. He got the biggest smile on his face. They want to play football, guys. They come to Pitt to play football. guys want to play college football. They don't want to sit on the bench. They want to go play. They want to have an opportunity to make plays. You know, Kenny's not saying, Coach, I'd like to save myself for next week, or God, I hope I don't get hurt. We don't play that way. And if you play that way, you're good. That's when you get hurt. So we're not, you know, our guys are tough. They're physical, and you know, they're conditioned to play, and they want to play. It's what they work. I mean, work since January to get to to first game. That's what you want to play football. They want to play. There's guys on the sideline. There's guys on the sideline want to play too.
Does that bleed over to play calling too? I mean, you know, like Cole's throwing the ball with under 2 minutes to go in the game that's been decided.
Again, I don't want to put my backup quarterback in the Louisville game or the West Virginia game because we have to, and he's throwing his first pass. It's good for Cole's confidence to go in there and throw the football and operate the offense. You know, it wouldn't be fair to Cole to go in there and tell him to hand it off every down. It just doesn't make any sense. You know, I'm never going to do that. Now, if Eli was in the fourth quarter, we'd probably hand it off every snap. There's no need to do that. But even I don't want him to score that quickly. When Yates, Cole Gonzalez, the guy was wide open. They had a bust in coverage. I think they were supposed to midpoint to the field, and free safety didn't midpoint and gave up a big one. But that's a game of football. I can't help that we score fast.
Good.